Hey everybody, Norm from Tested here. Before we jump into this week's episode of Still Untitled, I want to tell you about something I did this past weekend for the first time. I cooked my own dinner. Well, I've done that, but using a service called Blue Apron. Blue Apron is the sponsor of this week's episode of Still Entitled, and they sent me a trial meal in a refrigerated box so I could make my own dinner before watching Game of Thrones. Here's how it works. You sign up for meals. It's under $10 a meal. They send you a refrigerated package with all the ingredients, pre-portioned, and easy to follow recipes to make the meal. I had cod tacos, which were, quite frankly, delicious. And I decided not to put the onions in there because I don't like the onions. Now, you can also get in on Blue Apron, and for listeners of this podcast, get 2 free meals plus free shipping by going to blueapron.com/untitled. Again, that's blueapron.com/untitled. You'll love how good it feels to cook your own meal, how good it tastes, and just the convenience of not having to buy all the recipes, all the ingredients individually, having it all pre-packaged and pre-portioned. Again, blueapron.com/untitled. Thank you for supporting this week's episode of Still Entitled. And now on with the show.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Good morning.
Hello,
Good
nerds.
morning.
Well,
to everyone out there.
you know, there's a reason that I buy 2 cups of coffee from Ritual when I come in the morning.
'Cause it's like
They
contact.
They didn't pay me to say that, but
Yeah.
that's my morning ritual. And this morning I dropped one of my coffees.
Oh.
And that was sad, but it meant that I still had one.
It's just like contact.
Yes, exactly.
One blows up. Hey, wait, it just cost twice the price to make
Yes.
another one.
Why buy one when you can buy 2 for twice the price?
Precisely.
So John Hurt on board a space station
Was he on
with
board?
cancer.
Was that John Hurt?
It's John Hurt.
Wow. Speaking of John Hurt, no, that was William Hurt.
No, it was John Hurt. He's right.
No, I mean I was doing a bad segue. Norm does the good segues.
Oh.
I do the bad segues.
General Thunderbolt Ross
Yes.
in the Marvel movies, played by William Hurt.
General Thunderbolt Ross. I can't believe that's
I think he's
awesome.
Secretary of State Thunderbolt Ross now, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
He is.
Yeah.
Or defense or something.
Are we
Yes,
gonna just?
yeah.
Should we?
You want to launch into it?
Hey, a movie came out
you
over
had,
the weekend.
You had
Before
Yeah.
we stampede towards Captain America,
so
Civil
many
War.
people saw that at my theater that the escalators were broken by Sunday night when I went to the movie theater.
So I found myself wondering if the movie was tanking because at the Kabuki,
Yeah.
Sundance, yesterday's noon show, like there was no one in the theater.
The hipster theater crowd has all migrated to the Alamo Drafthouse.
Really?
I think so.
Oh my!
No.
I mean, listen.
Sorry, Robert Redford.
On Friday afternoon. Wait, no. Yeah, on Friday afternoon, I bought 4 tickets for Sunday's show.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, it was Saturday afternoon. I bought 4 tickets for Sunday's show, and there was like
You got the
maybe
good
15
seats.
people in the audience
Huh.
at that point.
I
I
think
just thought that's really unlikely.
That's what happens when you play a movie and debut it in more than 4,000
Yeah.
theaters.
It's showing in 4 different theaters at Kabuki.
Every theater in every multiplex I went to, except for the one that had Zootopia, was showing Captain America.
I see.
And I think you reach peak theater saturation in a movie like Star Wars Force Awakens. And even that, the Sunday seats, there's a drop on Sundays.
There is.
Yeah.
Okay, so but before we get to that, I
but wait.
consumed
Yes.
a bunch of media this week.
Ooh,
Yes.
nothing I like more than consuming media.
I consumed the end of the second. I consumed the totality of the second season of Better Call Saul,
Okay.
Oh, yes.
which remains one of the most beautiful, slow burning shows ever made.
Like on your list of follow-on shows, like shows that followed another successful show, it's top of the pile, you think, or is it like Laverne and Shirley level?
No. It's not even remotely close to Laverne and Shirley. It's absolutely top of the pile.
Okay.
And it's a totally different show too. However, I guess the space that Vince and his team really like is that tension of the self-actualized person who knows that they're good even though they're doing terrible things.
Well, everybody thinks they're good.
Right. No, and that's the most devastating line in The Talented Mr. Ripley. No one
Yeah.
thinks they're a bad person. And this is the case. And so you're watching, like, the second season deals deeply with the totally messed up relationship between Saul and his brother Chuck, played by Michael McKean. And it's super complicated, super complex, and amazing. I also watched the series finale of Girls.
Oh yeah, you said
The
you've been
series
watching
finale?
it again.
Yeah,
Wait, the show's over.
I believe so.
Wow.
Am I wrong?
I don't know.
I don't know.
The only
I
source
know.
I have for
Follow
this is my wife, and she's almost always right. So I'm
Okay.
just going to go with
Good
that.
policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Girls had a return to form this season. I think the first season of Girls is a masterpiece.
It's one of the best seasons of TV ever.
I totally agree. Second season was fascinating and interesting, but as subsequent seasons happened, there were many things that those girls did that really pissed me off. But this,
Maybe that was the point.
well,
Yeah.
it could be, absolutely. But this last season it actually surpasses the first season.
Really?
I'm not even kidding. There's an entire episode of, okay, first of all, this last season turns out to be about Shosh. Shosh is my favorite girl.
Shoshana.
Played by David Mamet's daughter, who is just brilliant. And she goes to Japan.
Her characterization, she's the naive one.
She
starts out,
She started
yeah.
off as the naive. Okay.
You know what she is she's the least afraid of her crazy.
You think that's it?
She is the one who's most unabashedly like she continues to circle back and love her crazy. I mean, this is arguably Hannah's entire arc on Girls, but Shosh has always been there. And Shosh goes to Japan, and there's an episode shot in Japan, actually a couple, but there's one main one shot in Japan that I swear rivals Lost in Translation as a magnificent meditation on an American in Tokyo.
Wow.
And
that is bold.
Oh, I will go toe to
Okay,
toe against that Amsterdam shit.
So I wasn't going to watch this, and I will totally, I'll fire it up now.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And it wraps up in a really beautiful way. It wraps up in a complicated and amazing way. Jenny Slate makes an appearance in the last season.
Jenny Slate, the Marcel the Shell?
Yeah, Jenny Slate
okay,
of Marcel the
perfect.
Shell fame. She is wonderful, and it's left me with a really good, deep, warm feeling.
As good shows should.
good
So
As a good finale should, especially.
now that you've
yeah.
finished 2 seasons or the finales, whether they're series or season of 2 shows, does that give you more time? Are you going to pick up new shows that you've been waiting to watch?
I watched the first episode of season 2 of Catastrophe.
Oh, the Rob
last
Delaney
night.
thing.
Yeah, Rob Delaney.
Everybody loves that. Is it good?
Have you not watched any of
No,
it?
not
I've
watched
not
any of
seen
it.
it.
Oh, okay. Catastrophe is about an American man on a business trip in London who has a 5-night stand with a wonderful Irish woman, gets her pregnant, moves to London, marries her.
So as 21st century. Yeah, that's
There's
what
a
you
reason
do.
It's called Catastrophe. And it is... So Rob Delaney...
He's a great, awful Twitter follow, by the way.
Oh, really?
He's really, really funny and horrible.
Well, so he met his co-star on... Hold on a second. I just have to do this so I don't miss her name.
Does she have an Irish name?
Catastrophe, Irish teacher. Let's see here. Sharon Horgan.
Okay.
So Sharon Horgan plays the woman. Rob Delaney plays the man. Sharon and Rob met on Twitter.
Wow.
And then became friends and started writing this show together. And it's one of the smartest. So season 1 is amazing because what you're watching is 2 really smart, self-realized people who really know themselves very well fall in love. And they're surrounded by a lot of crazy, wonderful characters. I mean, I just can't get enough of her brother-in-law. And I mean, there's a bunch of amazing nut jobs in the show. But it's incredibly sex positive. It's very funny. Their fights are real and not about dumb sitcom-y type of stuff. Except at the end. Season 1 ends with a fight that feels a little too dark. And season 2 begins also with a fight that's a little dark. Just for my taste, because the characters seemed smarter than what they're fighting about.
Yeah.
But as far as you can imagine, what kind of person just moves to another country after a 5-night stand and decides to marry this woman and decides to really make it work? And this season 2 picks up at a very interesting place. I was impressed, and I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
But season 1 is magnificent.
This is on Amazon, right?
I think...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's
You love
it's
the
streaming only.
The dramatic comedies.
I do love the dramatic comedy.
It sounds like Master of None, Catastrophe, Girls.
It is
funny shows about realistic people.
So what warmed me up to it is one of the great dramatic comedies. Thank you for pointing out that category. Ever made is Sports Night, which is Aaron Sorkin's first show. Felicity Huffman, Josh Malina, Robert Guillaume. I mean, it is a masterpiece of a show. It only went for 2 seasons. Clark Gregg shows up at the end. William H. Macy. It's phenomenal. In fact, it's something that I want to do on Tested, and it's a long-term plan to podcast the series.
So I watched Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, which was it's one of my for one season TV shows. It's really high on my list.
I'm a big fan of Studio 60.
Super smart and super good. And I never went back to watch The West Wing.
Oh,
having seen that before. Gina and I just started watching that. Maybe she started watching it, and then because she was like, "You're in your office working all the time, so I need something to do." And then I started bringing my laptop out to sit and listen because it works as a radio drama as well as anything.
Yeah, no, totally.
Like the uses of silence. You're so used to the boom, 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 boom of commentary in that Sorkin script that when there's a pause. Like everything, you kind of it's like if you're in a room full of people and somebody screams and then everything just stops.
Right.
It's the same thing,
totally.
same
God,
feeling.
you're totally right.
Why did nobody tell me that West Wing is good? That's what I want to know.
Well, everybody told me it was good.
It turns out
it's amazing. It's amazing. It was. We were all living out our fantasy presidency.
maybe.
I just started watching John Adams, the HBO show.
Oh.
Is that interesting at all? Because John, I just got past the Adams presidency and the Chernow biography, and he sounds like the biggest dick
that was the show. This is the
really?
show. Like, he's not likable.
Well, for a few hundred years at least.
He was right until Chancellor Trump.
Well, no, I was going to say until Tricky Dick.
Oh God! Actually,
yeah,
he is to the left. He's to the left of our centrist Democratic Party now. I'd vote for Nixon.
Dick?
Yeah,
Dick Nixon. Yeah, all of us
started
would.
the EPA.
Just based on the policies.
Right.
Yeah,
he tried to get single payer passed.
I mean, yes, I think everyone at this table would probably vote for Nixon in the current political climate.
We don't have to go there.
No.
Yeah, we'll have that conversation later this year.
Adams is like a venal, totally angry, paranoid nut job. Is that how he comes across?
Not the paranoid nut job, but definitely a nut job.
So have we? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Have we talked about the Adams rant in Hamilton?
No.
In Hamilton, there's a point in the second act where it says Adams fires Hamilton, privately calls him Creole bastard. Hamilton publishes his response, and it says, "Sit down, John, you fat mother." Whoa. Lin-Manuel Miranda actually wrote an entire rap of Hamilton's 45-page takedown of the Adams presidency.
45-page takedown? What is he? Is he an internet commenter?
It was a pamphlet that revealed all of these internal strife in the Adams presidency. It was totally like one of the worst things that Hamilton
Adams
did.
was the second president, right?
Yes.
He's between Jefferson and Washington.
Correct.
Yes.
And it turned Hamilton it turned both it was so awful. It turned both Hamilton and Adams into pariahs.
Wow.
And it made Adams the very first one-term president.
Yeah.
And that rap didn't make it into the show because it was too long. But Miranda, apparently at one point on his bucket list, he got to deliver that rant to Paul Giamatti.
Wow.
Nose to nose.
Wow.
That's good.
Wow.
So how long is that mini?
It's I think 7 episodes, and they're about between 70 and 90 minutes long.
Oh,
so
wow.
they're long episodes.
It's Laura Linney.
Laura Linney, who's wonderful.
And then
in it.
everyone else plays all the founding fathers?
Yes. Yeah. I'm only episode 2 in the Continental Congress.
Oh, so it's pre-Washington.
I mean, you have to do his entire life, or it goes through like at least 30 years in 7 episodes.
I assume it starts with the early days of
revolution.
Revolution and
Right,
finishes
right.
with the
You
Constitution, right?
You got to see something good about him before
Yeah.
you get to his
Yeah.
presidency. Cause
Yeah. Well, we were figuring it out. We had this good presidents and bad presidents, Adam.
the thing I'm curious about how the show will treat is Hamilton's sort of ghost running
exactly.
of Adam's entire cabinet.
Exactly, and it was one of the reasons I wanted to watch the
Yeah,
show.
totally,
Different media perspectives.
Is it well made?
It's very well. It's HBO.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Oh
Is
my
it?
gosh.
It's based on the book, right?
Yes,
on the Walter Isaacson book, maybe. Is
I don't
that
think
right?
it's Walter Isaacson, but they're definitely in the credits based on the book by.
Years ago at the what do you call it? The Young Scientist Challenge, which is an annual science challenge in DC.
It sounds like that should be like an evil contest, right? Like,
Well, so at one of the early ones, Jamie and I were judges. This is like 2004 or something like that. And Walter Isaacson gave the keynote speech on the final night of the Young Scientist Challenge. And he's a wonderful writer, very important historian. But boy, did that guy not read a room.
oh yeah.
He stood in front of this room of like 3,000 children in D.C. and gave like a 48-minute talk on what was the book he had just written. It was like this. I think it was Jefferson. I can't remember what it's.
See, even you can't remember.
No,
You're a
I
grown
can't.
up.
He gave some long 45-minute diatribe about an American president, and the crowd was just like
Choking on their roast beef.
Absolutely.
Oh,
It was,
that's not good.
when he finished, it was just like.
Some
was an
8-year-old
SNL
does a
sketch.
sarcastic slow
It
clap
was
in the
just-
back.
Yeah, it was just one of those like, don't just go and do your prepared material
Oh,
that works
boy.
everywhere else when you're going with
No,
kids.
what place for the Daughters of the American Revolution isn't gonna it won't hunt here. Speaking of revolution,
Oh, nice. Another segue.
another bad segue by Will Smith.
Oh, there
Let's
we
loop
go.
back to the beginning.
We're right back to where
Yes.
we started.
Iron Man or
America,
Captain
Civil
America?
War?
That's what I want to know before we talk about anything else.
Captain America.
I don't think you can watch
you
the
can.
movie. No, okay.
People came out of that movie and were like, "I'm Team Iron Man."
Really?
That's the
hold on.
divide in politics in America.
No.
today.
I maybe I'm interested to hear from out there because it is, I think, an interesting question you bring up. Are the people who are Team Iron Man based on the actual policy and stance that he takes in the movie, or because they think
because
Iron
they
Man
like
is a
someone who
cooler
wears sneakers
character?
with
Exactly.
suits.
I mean, Iron Man is cool.
And Robert Downey Jr. is like super cool.
Yeah,
is the
well,
epitome of
okay.
cool.
That's a really
Is
good.
it like more of a character?
What I'm fascinated by is the fact that I'm not sure your question refines the point.
right.
You see what I'm saying? You're actually thinking that there's going to be a separation between people who go for
I
the
think
image and splash of
Yeah.
Iron Man and agree with his politics, and I don't think that there's a.
I think
but
either,
I know that
either you
there is.
feel
You buy
Iron
the
Man
baby,
deep in
you
your
buy the
heart.
bathwater.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because what he's going for is totalitarianism.
No, I get what you're saying.
And
I'm
it's-
just saying when it
Or
comes to style over
authoritarianism,
substance.
probably.
Or maybe like this wasn't a movie where it was about the substance at all.
You
It really is just about the style.
Look,
okay,
Do
so-
you
so-
like the guy with the shield, or you like the guy with the repulsor guns?
That's where I ended up after. Like, I walked out of that movie. It was like, and Gina asked me when I got home, "Did you like this movie? Was it?" And I was like, "It was good."
Let me
I don't-
actually.
I
So
don't-
let
yeah.
me just say, I thought it was fantastically made. All the action sequences were terrific. The grabbing of the motorcycle, spinning it.
Oh, that was so good. I
that was his
audibly
Legolas
gasped.
moment.
Yeah.
a Legolas
Yeah.
doing anyway. I thought there was nothing dumb in this movie. There were no plot points that made me like, oh come on. There was none of that shit.
And let's wait till 2 weeks later before we can revisit.
Okay, but
I think the characters were true to themselves, though.
I
Yes.
totally agree.
Very, very
the thing
important.
that I just felt was that the stakes weren't quite as high.
Well,
to me personally. Now, my 17-year-old son, and was like, "Oh, I got totally weepy at the end." He like really bought in and loved the spit out of it.
I can't imagine crying at a Marvel movie.
It was totally. I thought it was completely competently done, and that sounds like damning by faint praise, but it's not. I think the Russo brothers are making some of the best action movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the stakes felt lower than even Winter Soldier to me.
Well, okay, so and that's in the context like we're all at this table. Like we don't need the big stake. The world doesn't need to be at stake for a movie to be interesting. Right?
No,
But-
I totally agree,
right.
but I still felt like it was a little minor. It's August Deal, right? Is the villain in this one?
Daniel Bruhl.
Daniel Bruhl. Sorry,
From,
I keep getting those two mixed up.
from
He was
uh,
kind of
All
Inglourious
the
Inglourious Basterds.
Germans look alike to me.
He was what a vengeful. Someone posted on Twitter and said Daniel Bruhl plays a better vengeful Batman than
Batman.
Ben Affleck does a vengeful
Oh,
Batman.
so I
haven't
still
seen
haven't
that
seen
yet.
Batman v Superman.
I should go see that.
But I think it's interesting because
Same movie.
the movie's getting universal praise and like best Marvel movie ever. I still think The Winter Soldier is the best Marvel
I think
movie.
The Winter Soldier is a demonstrably better movie.
And they're
was more-
directed by the same-
I'm
same
not even
duo.
sure. I think it was. I'm not even sure. I'm going to say I think it was technically better. I just cared more. That really is what it comes down to me. I kept on watching all these action sequences and thinking, there's nothing wrong with any of this. I love all of it.
Yeah, the big fight at the airport is incredible.
Dude,
The little fight, the one
Anybody
I don't
else have
remember.
any spectacular, astonishing powers they're holding back?
Wait, so hold on. We've done a great job not spoiling.
Yeah,
That's
we
good.
have. We
Okay,
kind
so
of have
let's.
accidentally
Are
not
we
spoiled.
going to jump into the spoiler moment?
I mean,
I think we should at a certain point.
I think this is a movie worth like.
Yeah.
Like I
Worth
kind of
cracking
feel like this
apart
about
and-
I felt like most of the recent Marvel movies. It's really competent. It's really fun. It's a great way to spend a couple of hours
I
and
thought
eat
it
some
was-
popcorn and
yeah.
drink Coke. But like,
I liked it vastly more than Age of Ultron.
Oh yeah.
Well, Age of Ultron was
Right.
not
and
good.
and here's the fact that that's a potential downside of a movie being perfectly enjoyable but not having some resonance, and that you're saying that out of a superhero movie speaks to how great superhero movies have been over
well,
the
at
years.
least a handful.
no,
that
I
we can
agree.
have
And-
some expectations.
And I'm curious to see how this movie sits a year from now. It may be that I'm totally get into watching these action sequences again because they're so well made, so refined. I will tell you the biggest surprise for me was how freaking great Spider-Man is.
All right, so we are now moving into
Okay.
100%. If you haven't seen the
Yeah,
movie
probably
trailers,
time.
spoiler territory. The movie's great. I think you guys should watch it.
It is
yeah,
Spoilercast
totally worth
starts
seeing.
now.
I think you're right. Superhero movies are great. This is one of the great superhero movies. It's just not as great as.
would you guys agree that the movie is the individual moments are better than the sum of the parts?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what I left with this movie, and I felt like The Winter Soldier, the sum of the parts, it flowed so well that had both great individual moments and was great. It's a cohesive piece, and plus that was where it was a genre change from the World War II action adventure movie to spy thriller.
Yeah.
This one, a little bit of a genre change because it's a big ensemble movie, but because we all agree that the movie is the individual moments are better than some parts, I think we can just call out our favorite moments and just take turns, like Spider-Man.
I was amazed. What's the name of the actor? Tom
Tom
Holland
Holland.
plays Spider-Man. He plays by far the youngest Spider-Man that anyone's put on
19
screen.
years old.
But he looks like he's about 14.
He
15.
looks like he's about 14. He
Is the world ready for Hot Aunt May?
I am
look,
totally look,
that's the thing I had the most problem with of all. I
Okay,
am
I'm sorry that sounded sexist.
Hot Aunt May.
Mentally
But it was
unprepared.
Aunt May is played by Marissa Tomei, who I fear will never
my
love me
God.
as much as I love her.
But Tony Stark says as much in the movie.
Yeah, like wow.
Like that was the least believable part of the whole thing. If you put Tony Stark and Marissa Tomei in the same room, he's not going to be able to control himself.
I love a little age-appropriate flirting too.
Yeah.
Thank you, movies.
Right.
But
okay.
Tom Holland, so he plays the classic Marvel Spider-Man. He talks constantly through all the action sequences, and there's a point.
Two people.
There's a point. What's that?
Two people tell him.
Right, and there's a point at which Falcon says, "I don't know if you've been in a fight before, but there's not usually this much talking."
He gets called out like twice.
Okay,
Yeah.
you gotta be fair, but to Andrew Garfield, who played the last Spider-Man, and the creators and the writers of that show, because there was all of that movie, because he did that too.
Yeah.
in the last movie.
Those movies were better than I thought they were going to be when I watched them.
Really?
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I have
There's,
not
there's
watched
a lot
either
of
of
the
them.
wisecracking, and I think Marvel's understood that about Spider-Man. What they brought in about Spider-Man in this movie was how naive and young he is, and like he like Paul Rudd, both were great comedic reliefs because they played the parts of the audience. They were
And-
both excited to be there.
And Paul Rudd, yeah,
Paul
I
Rudd's
love
so
him.
good.
Big fan.
And
Hey,
grabs his shoulders, which was an impromptu moment. They wrote that that morning. It was that they liked because Paul Rudd, likable guy.
Well, let's also point out that you say it's a great time for good action hero movies. One of the reasons is because all of the casts are top-notch actors. Really, I will defend every single one of them as really among the best actors. Chris Evans is amazing as Cap. All of the supporting smaller characters. Robert Downey Jr. of course. Again.
They got their money's worth when they paid for Robert Downey Jr.
Really
I
did.
thought.
Well, And I was excited to see Robert Downey Jr. not jammed into the Iron Man suit the entire time. Like they actually spent like Robert Downey Jr. being Tony Stark is much more interesting to me than Robert Downey Jr. being Iron Man at this point.
I think he feels the same way.
So things about we like about the movie, like surprising things. I think the movie Spider-Man Black. You'd be remiss and not talk about. Black.
We're gonna get to that. But I saw your tweet.
What was your tweet?
Your retweet.
Oh yes, someone called the cops.
A black man just stole a whole movie.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Black Panther. No. So again, one more thing with Spider-Man. I thought the physicality of the action scenes was fantastic, especially the kinematics of Spider-Man's moving through the space, and at the point when Spider-Man goes, "Hey, okay, so that shield doesn't obey any of the laws of physics."
Oh yeah, it's great.
I did still keep hearing Tony Cho's every frame of painting about Jackie Chan's fight scene choreography because the Russo brothers also cut on the punches like American directors.
And they crank up their shutter, so everything was a little bit faster. That scene in the airport, I mean, I would only say and it's a masterpiece of choreography and fight writing because you're talking about 8 characters that you have to juggle back and forth, give them individual moments.
It's 12 or 11.
Wow, it's a lot.
Yeah,
and it's not. It didn't feel like as much a war zone as Ultron did because that was in a city, or even first Avengers movie because that was in New York, and I think they had to for the writing. Just take civilians out of it and isolate these characters.
I'm glad that they dealt with the civilians because it's an interesting issue.
I mean, I feel like we've been talking about that since The Watchmen, probably. Right. Or maybe Kingdom Come. I don't know. Whatever. Some comic book arc 20 years ago. I hope that we can go back to just punching people and not thinking about the civilian casualties quite as much. The thing about the airport sequence to me is that it was incredibly coherent. This is the thing I loved about The Winter Soldier too. Is at no point did I get lost in action. At no point did I think, oh, where is Black Widow and Black Panther? What are they doing standing?
It's almost like the opposite of Bayhem.
And
it really is.
And it's daytime. Complete bright daytime. You can't hide things in shadows.
Yeah.
Like Batman v Superman, it's all nighttime fighting.
But even like Spider-Man swinging, you still know where he is. You know that he's swinging around like it's really hard to do those tracking shots. Like the thing that J.J. Abrams did in The Force Awakens in the Jakku Millennium Falcon escape sequence, where he's doing all these tracked camera shots. You have no idea where the actual spaceship is in those, or what the relationship to the ground is, and like Spider-Man's doing those same movements. Iron Man and Iron Patriot and Falcon are doing the same movements.
Yeah,
and you always have a sense of place, which is super impressive to me. Technically.
And I think you're absolutely right. Black Panther was an amazing brand new addition.
Yes.
Like how often do you add 2 new characters? It's almost 3, really, if you count Scarlet Witch too.
And Chadwick Boseman is so good. So he's so good and so crazy handsome and charismatic. I mean, he's almost like he shows up and schools everyone. I'm like, this is what
he's regal, which is what the character is supposed to be. I mean, he's a prince and now a king, and Black Panther as a character, it's interesting character because the nation of Wakanda is supposed to be completely isolated, and actually there's some parallels to the Wonder Woman character. Like a completely isolated nation. Like he's actually very ambivalent. They introduce him as a character because he doesn't pick a side. He has no side. He just has revenge as his motivation, and so he's like a wild card.
He's his own interest.
Exactly. Yeah. But they bring him in, ties it perfectly with the Vibranium storyline, so it makes sense in that universe, and completely equal to any character. That chase scene with him and Bucky and Captain America running through the garage.
That was the only thing that got almost a little hokey with some of the quick running, but just barely. Still incredibly enjoyable.
So that motorcycle, the thing that you called out, like that was one of those ones that had you done it badly, in terms of moments that could have ruined that entire sequence if it was executed poorly.
Yeah.
Like that could have been John McClane jumping the motorcycle into the F-35 at the end of
Die Hard 4.
Yeah, Die Hard 4.
There's a Die Hard 4.
Yeah, just don't watch it.
I mean, it was equivalent to Dark Knight when Batman does the Joker, gets his motorcycle around the big trailer and then flips the Joker up, and then he does that spin with the Batpod. It's like just like nice little nice moments.
Well, it's a punchline on the action sequence.
And it really is. I swear they were like, we're gonna have a Legolas moment, because it totally felt like that bit when Legolas gets
crowd pleasing,
pulled up on the horse.
Or runs up the back of the elephant thing and
yeah, exactly,
a bunch of arrows, and then people die.
So I will agree and say the actual conflict of this Civil War was ended up not being the point of the movie, right? Because it wasn't that legislation wasn't what led the conflict. Actually, that was complete red herring.
Yeah,
the conflict, and I like that the red herring was that the conflict was really about the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and
the reveal about who killed Tony Stark's parents.
Well, that was an awesome reveal.
It was very old boy.
I didn't see it coming.
It was very like that made it actually have impact and meaning, because that's all of Tony Stark's character through the 6 movies he's been in. His immaturity, everything, it's all angst.
How about the 17-year-old Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
The digitally, and I was like, shit, I feel like I'm looking at a John Hughes movie 25, 30 years ago.
And they shot it that way, and then they perfectly explained it, because any imperfections, even though it was damn near perfect, because it was a hologram.
Well, I thought it was a little creepy.
Right.
And they did
it was
that.
definitely creepy.
Okay,
So
I was like, this is just me?
They've done the de-aging. If you saw Ant-Man, right, they do digital de-aging. They did it with
Paul Rudd.
Michael, Mr.
Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas, and they've done the digital aging with Haley Atwell and the Winter Soldier, and so it's amazing what they can do.
The Benjamin Buttons treatment.
Mm-hmm. So that whole, like, the thing that was interesting to me about this movie structurally is that it simultaneously closed up a lot of the loose threads from
Ultron
Phase 1 of the Marvel, like like you said, the Tony Stark's arc feels like it could be over at this point, right? I mean, I don't think it is, obviously, but they opened up a new arc in the future and dumped off a lot of the baggage in the form of Gwyneth Paltrow and
sad Gwyneth wasn't in this movie. I love her Pepper Potts.
She's a great Pepper Potts.
And her not being there kind of explains why he has no conscience. Like he can go completely like there's no balance. He's in this emotional turmoil.
Right.
But they did a ton of work in this movie. Like in terms of, they introduced new characters. They opened up an entire new narrative arc that can run them, let's say, a shareholder interesting 10 or 12 movies.
So I think that's where it falls apart a little bit, because while it did its job absolutely of making you, after watching the movie, wanting to watch a Black Panther movie and a Spider-Man movie, like your money is ready to be out there. No, yeah. That's their job in the business of making movies. They did that. The idea of bringing Spider-Man in, the whole idea is that Spider-Man's supposed to be the emotional center of the movie. Like, he's supposed to be the one that gets tugged between both sides.
Oh, really?
In the Civil War comic.
Ah.
And when everyone said, "Oh, they're doing Civil War the movie. Oh, they have to have Spider-Man because he's the one. He's the Marvel. He's the center."
That way.
They didn't, because it was more of a cameo role to just bring him in to even out the sides.
I feel like he was in just.
I mean,
it's hard
and
to
because
say that they would do it any differently,
right? Because they hadn't introduced him before.
It's
if there was
story.
a whole Spider-Man before, and they brought him back,
if only we knew how he got his powers and what his relationship with his Aunt May was like.
Well, they just didn't give a chance for him to build relationships with any of the characters, right?
Right. Well, I mean, Paul Rudd was in the same boat.
Exactly.
I mean, I felt like probably they could have used Paul Rudd as that same. Like, they initially intended to use Paul Rudd in that same role, and then North Korea hacked Sony, and all of a sudden Spider-Man was on the table, and here we are.
Wow.
Right.
That could be.
Thanks, North Korea.
Other great moments. Domestic Vision.
Domestic Vision.
Well, domestic people
trying to
protect her
cook even though he
vision.
doesn't eat.
Yeah, and wearing the sweater, like, that's a great.
I found myself
interpretation
wondering.
of an
I actually
android.
found myself wondering because, Paul Bettany. It's probably 3 hours just to get in the face makeup.
Oh yeah.
It's probably 6 or 7 to do the full treatment. And I could imagine him going, "I will do this movie, but you have to have at least 4 scenes in which I'm wearing a goddamn cardigan, because I just from the neck up, please.
What a brilliant piece of writing, though. I mean, the idea that he's learning to be human and he doesn't understand
it's
these
a data
humans.
moment.
It totally. He plays a great wearing a sweater
The sweater bit was funny.
is great.
Like he walks through the wall wearing the sweater. You're like, oh, okay, I see what this is. So this is another interesting thing. They set up a lot of duos, like duos that are opposed to each other. So Scarlet Witch and Vision.
Oh, you're right.
Same powers, or potentially same powers, same strength levels. Maybe, I don't know. Interesting fights.
Right.
Black Widow, Black
Romance, ship
Panther.
'em.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
What's that?
I mean, there's clearly going to be romance between
Yeah.
the Scarlet Witch and Vision.
I loved the Scarlet Witch in this film. I thought she was great. I thought the actress did great.
That's the hardest superhero acting in this business. She has to like move her finger. It's like Stephen Strange kind of stuff. Like I don't know how you do that and not look like a.
She defeats people with gang signs.
Just like she has like a little bit of a gimpy hand, I guess. So, the Black Widow, Black Panther standoff is clearly setting something up. I thought Scarlett Johansson got to do some like she gets to do her best work in the Captain America movies. I think
I love her
in terms of
Of
superheroes.
course, I love her. Of course, everyone loves her. But I love Black Panther. Black Widow. I love Black Widow. I love her patented now scissor leg around your neck, flip you upside down.
They do
move.
it better every time.
They really do.
Oh
she
my
did it like 3
gosh.
times in this movie.
Like in that first scene where they're chasing Crossbones and his crew, like, and that market fight scene.
yes.
Like the way they shoot that stuff is.
She's just wearing normal street clothes too. That's so like this is the knock I have against the movie. It's the end of this movie. I walk through it normally. I guess partly because the previously we're used to the normal structure where you have like the fight that they win, the fight that they lose, the fight that has the ambiguous ending, and then the big finish.
Quiet bit at the end of Act 2 before Act 3 jumps in heavily. Yeah.
Right. I couldn't remember the flow of this movie after seeing it.
Yeah, it's very complicated. Like I said, I'm really interested to see how this movie sits in a couple of years. How
And-
willing I am to watch because Winter Soldier comes on, I'm like, oh great, now I know what I'm doing for the next hour.
Yeah,
I'm watching
or
the rest of
Avengers.
this.
I'll
Yeah,
watch Avengers pretty much
agreed.
anytime.
Same thing, yeah. So I'm curious how this will hold up. I feel like this movie may age better.
I think like if you look at this compared to say Guardians of the Galaxy or Ant-Man, which I walked out of really positive and then kind of can't be asked to watch again either of them.
Yeah.
I feel like this will end up more on the high side of that, but I don't
think
know
you're
for
right.
sure.
I think you're totally right. I think that's a fine place to
Yeah.
pause at the end of our media consumptive weekend.
Yeah. So Norm, what's going on Untested this week?
So last week we went to visit Ryan Nagata's shop, and we'll be back this week where Adam and Ryan talk more about spacesuits.
And this visiting shops, I really appreciate everyone's amazing comments and questions, and it's clear to me that we got to visit a lot more shops.
Yep.
It's just a great thing to do to see other people's philosophies. I want to visit somebody's tiny bedroom shop, tiny little, condo shop, and somebody's giant big, facility. So
I hope you'll go to Tom Sachs's studio next time you're in New York.
at some point we will get a visit to Tom Sachs's amazing studio, which is a sculpture in and of itself.
Yeah. So I guess that'll do it for us this week. Adam, you and I are talking at Maker Faire at the end of the month on different times and days.
Oh, you're on Saturday.
I'm on Saturday, I think.
I'm on Sunday around midday.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's final yet, but that's the latest time and date I have. So
See you there.
yes.
All right.
Yes, and Adam, you're going to be emceeing a Star Trek event, fan event,
In
this month.
Los Angeles on the
Yes,
20th.
on the
Yes.
20th.
With
And I think there's some information about I'll put information below about how people can win tickets to that event.
oh yeah.
Cool. Okay, see you guys next week.
Bye guys.